I'm back with our lovely Rosalyn Masterson, also known as Rara, the author of The Storm is Over, a beautiful and telling autobiography based on her struggles from a young girl to adulthood. Today we will be discussing Chapter 3, Sweets, Daddy, and the Franklin Clan.
Okay.
Welcome, Rosalyn.
Well, thank you, Sheila.
I'm glad you're here. So, Rosalyn, I'd like to talk about your mom. Her nickname given by the family was Sweets.
Yes.
So, Big Daddy, who we've talked about previously, your grandfather, was your mother's father.
Correct.
And in your book, I was reading that Big Daddy considered Sweets, your mother, the apple of his eye. Why do you think that he considered her the apple of his eye?
Well, Sheila, I for a number of reasons. One is for her being the youngest of the 5 children, and them coming to Colorado when she was 4. And also I believe because of her being young and very inexperienced, but having these children. And so, I believe that he needed to protect my mother because those relationships was not healthy relationships. Because, she has experience with being beaten, with my father, which I know I've seen that. I witnessed that early on. But I know with the second set of kids, her man that she had these 5 kids by. And I believe the Big Daddy just felt that he just needed to protect his little girl.
Thank you. How long did your mother care for you as a very young child before you became a permanent resident at 2848 Race Street?
I was thinking about that, and I just would have to say that my memory is blurry because I do know solidly that Race Street was like the permanent address, and I do have some visions of another address, a couple of other addresses, but mainly it was Race Street. It was Race Street. And I know that when my other siblings, which is the sons, I know that we had a house around the corner from Race Street on Gaylord where one of them set it afire. So I know that we was all living together with my mother, Sweets, and her second husband or her second man. Because she never married that guy. She never married my brother's father.
So your mother had you and your older brother Andre with your father. And your father's name was? Bat.
Yes.
With your father, Bat. Then your father went to jail. And went to prison. And your mother met Ox.
Yes.
She and Ox had 5 children together.
Yes.
Your mom and Ox split up.
Yes.
Tell us what happened to you, Andre, and your other 5 siblings after the split.
Okay, well, me and Andre and my sister, Casper, went to Race Street. And the reason that she didn't get to go with the boys because Ox's mother, they didn't think that she was his child, no way. So apparently my mother cheated on him, but he took the boys because he was a mother's boy, and it was his mother's suggestion that he take his sons, and that's as far as I know, because it was too much for my mother to handle, being a young woman on welfare. Mm-hmm. So it was me, Casper, and Andre.
That went over to Race Street.
That went to my grandpa's house.
And then the boys went with Ox.
And yes, and his mother.
Is that how it remained?
Yes. Yes. And I think that's why our relationship is so dysfunctional and so strained, because we were not raised together. Mm-hmm. And as they got older, they would come back And but then when they come back, by this time everybody was experimenting with marijuana and booze, and so it was just like a strained relationship, and then it's just that's how it was, and I don't know why I don't, it's just that I just got a lot of discomfort, but it's again the rejection and no, the abandonment and the rejection.
Yeah.
As if me and Ox was not good enough, but we were the firstborn, So
You and Andre.
Me and Andre. Yes, me and Andre.
Now, real quick, you have intuitive thoughts, great intuitive thoughts. Do you think, just deep down, Casper was Ox's? Or was she...
Well, yes, because he is from a family of 9, and I believe 5 girls and 4 boys, and she looks every bit like his mother and his sisters.
Thank you for that. Tell us what your mom was best at in your eyes, as well as how this affected you.
Best at not being a mom. Sweet was a hustling woman. She was a gambler. Like, this morning before coming to meet with you, I had this memory of a herniated disc that happened to me at elementary school, and it wasn't seen about. I also have a ruptured appendix, which she did not, take me to the hospital. I got there in time just before it really erupted, so I had emergency appendicitis surgery. So, it was just like this money. She was just like after this darn money, and it's just the way that she did stuff. She neglected everything. She was a bingo. She liked bingo, and she liked gambling. And if I had pictures, I could show you pictures of my mom. Now, taking her, she's a beautiful woman, but she also has a big old scar across her nose by being hit from playing cards. And she won at cards, but the guy was so damn jealous. He, angry, he cracked her across the nose with a hammer. Almost broke her nose.
Oh, man. Mentioning, she was a hustler and she could gather money in different ways. Were any of these criminal?
Oh, girl, where you been? I hope I can say that. All of it's criminal. All of it's criminal.
Did she ever get in trouble for it?
No, I don't know why, because I guess the system was just slow at catching up with her. But I guess she just had that knack, they call it the gift of gab, but she had that knack where she could con and she can talk and she could run game. And especially she just, like check writing, I don't know how that lasted for so long, but my mother would just dress her butt off, but at the expense of others, because she would con them, and next thing you know, she's going to them high-end stores downtown before it became 16th Street Mall, and she's like a fashion plate, a walking fashion plate, which we was not raised in no shabby neighborhood, but still sweet. She was a hustling, gambling woman.
So also involved in fraudulent checks.
Oh yeah, writing checks, making checks, paper checks. She had a couple of people working with her, and at one time she gave me a darn check, and that's the first time. The second time I went to jail, because of a check, and then I guess I was under the influence, and I went to this neighborhood store to cash this darn check, and they wouldn't cash it, and before I could get out the darn store, the police had arrested me for fraud.
So she introduced you into this criminal, fraudulent check lifestyle of hers. You were part of the...
I wouldn't say I was part of it, because it just took one time for me,
okay.
And I did it, because she said that she'd give me money if I do it, and then I had nothing to fear, that, everything would go smoothly, which it didn't. But the hurting part, when they arrested me, she didn't even bail me out of jail. My father bailed me out of jail. Would you believe that? He bailed me out of jail. So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Your mother was verbally abusive and very critical of you while growing up. What harms did this abuse bring to you?
Well, still today, I still suffer from this abuse, especially the verbal. Like the name calling, stupid, fat, ugly, dumb. Uh, and then just a drunk, she would call me a drunk. But then when I'm sitting around watching, well, I mean, we're all sitting there, excuse me. We're all sitting there drinking. But yes, but I was the one, it was just a name call. And I don't know why. And you know what, this deal, and I suffer from this, and it may have to do with the reason that my daughter is the way she is with me, because, Sweet was never one that was, what are you, touchy-feely? Affectionate, she would never hug or embrace me. I don't never, ever remember that woman holding me, And when I go to reach for this woman, it's like she pushed me away. And so it was just that, okay, so I guess it verified, it validated what she was saying. It validated what she was saying about the names and, just the verbal abuse. And so I guess it was not worthy.
Right. And then also, when reading your book, I think it's important to bring up that this verbal abuse and this criticism ongoing, affected you in school. You didn't, feel smart.
Exactly.
You didn't feel worthy. In school. Obviously, it affected your self-esteem, your positive self-image from a very young girl to right now.
Well, yes.
But I really wanted to mention the school thing because, I thought that was pretty prominent in that chapter, is that just how this verbal abuse affected you as a student. So school went on a little bit and then you turned 15. Will you discuss with us what happened when you were 15 years old?
Well, I don't know. Well, when I was 15 years old, a lot happened, but I think what you're asking me, because it is part of the book, is when I had an abortion at 15. And my mother was she was instrumental in taking me to Planned Parenthood, and she was also telling me that I was too young to have a baby, and how would I support this baby, and so so that's what happened, and no more was said about it.
Okay.
No more was said about it. But the school, when I would go to school, Sheila, it was just like, the teachers and the principals there, these people would try to tell me that, that I was good and that I was smart. But then when I go back to that house, no, I'm not. And so, it was like, who you going to listen to? Who you going to believe, And so, it's just pretty much, because shortly after that abortion, I just stopped. Because at 15, I was like 9th grade, 10th grade.
Yeah.
And then after that, I just stopped. And then, the alcohol and the pot. And then sexually active.
Right. And then, just real quick, mention to us how old this man was.
6 years my senior.
So at the time you were 15, he was 21.
Yeah, 22, 21. Yes, he was. And, and what's so sad about it, that relationship lasted 10 years. 10 years. And he's the father of my son.
During the time you were going to school, you were introduced to alcohol at the very young age of 12. When you were caught, anytime you were caught under the influence, you were physically abused by your nanny, your mother Sweets, and your brother Andre.
Well, Andre played the part of holding me down while Sweet whooped me. And then, of course, the first time I got drunk, my grandmother, Nanny, told me that I would die and burn in hell forever. But nothing happened with Andre, and my very first drunk was with my brother and his friends. They packed me back to the house. So nothing happened with him. And so, but, it was just the language and the abuse and then he wanted to play the daddy figure, so he called this a hold me down while Sweet punish me, but nothing ever happened to him. And he was way worse than I was.
Right. And so, Andre, your brother, was a major influence in introducing you to drugs and alcohol.
Well, with the pot and the with the alcohol and the marijuana, because we all learned together. See, we all learned together, because it was just a thing with us kids experimenting. And I don't know if you had that in your community or in your neighborhood. The bad kids experimenting with drugs and booze. And then, alcohol, it wasn't really that big of a deal. It wasn't that big of a deal because everybody did it.
Right. And you were the one being ostracized for it while your brother was doing the same thing.
Nothing happened to him. Right.
Okay.
And I don't know why Sweet was that way, but no bad can come to Andre. But Andre has a history far worse than mine.
When you were 16, just a year after the abortion, your mother was taking prescription drugs and suffering from depression.
And other health issues, yes.
At this time, your mom had you committed to a psychiatric ward. Tell us how this happened and what you experienced.
Well, how this happened is that I was involved with the juvenile courts at this time, where I was on probation, and she was talking with my probation officer, and she had told them that I needed supervision because her health would not allow her to take care of me. And then it was suggested, and at this time drinking more, it was suggested that I be placed in this psychiatric unit at Colorado Hospital, which at the time was called Colorado General, but now the name has changed to University of Colorado. But it was on the 8th floor, where I was also given Librium. But my mother just told them that I needed supervision because her health, she was not able to take care of me. And then, of course, with my ailing grandmother.
Did anybody come and visit you?
Well, no. No.
Okay.
What about come to see about me?
Right. When you were in that ward, were you around other people who were suffering from drug and alcohol addiction?
You know what? I was around other young children, yes, but it was none looked like me. I don't know, why do I need to be on a damn drug called Librium? What was so wrong with me? Everybody drank.
All right. So, you were exited from the psychiatric ward, and you did not go home to 2848 Ray Street. Tell us a little timeline of where you went after the psychiatric ward.
Well, from a psychiatric ward, I went straight to a group home for girls. And this group home was, and then, well, it's a house today, but it was located, not far from Ray Street. And so I was there, and then I got super drunk because the guy, my baby's daddy, brought, I was on antabuse at the time, and he had brought a bottle, and then we were sitting in the back, and next thing I got super drunk. So, of course, I was terminated from the program. But they had to take me and have my belly pumped because of the antabuse and the other drugs, the Librium.
And then after these group homes, you went over to the Job Corp.
Right, because I was in, 2 group homes.
Were you successful at Job Corp?
Well, no, I was not. Because, again, alcohol. I don't know why I attract myself to people like me. But they're not as dark as me, But yes. So, no, I was not successful at Job Corps. I was still on probation. That was part of the probation, that I complete Job Corps, but I didn't. And so I was terminated from Job Corps, and nobody came to Hobbs, Albuquerque, New Mexico to get me. So we hitchhiked back to Colorado, me and my little white friends.
Okay. So let's talk about Andre a little bit. You say in your book that your mother loved Andre more than you.
Yes.
Explain a little bit to why you think this, to why you believe this, to what you experienced?
I believe what was happening with Mom and Aunt Andre's experience because it was her firstborn, and women just have this natural instinct about this boy. And I don't know if it had anything to do with my father, but how she loved my dad, like my dad loved her. But it was like Andre, he could do no wrong, and also he was like in special needs. So he was also asthmatic, so he had some issues going on with him, you know, some issues going on with him, you know.
Okay. And you mentioned that, if Andre would do something and you would do the same thing, it was a whole different ball game with you versus him.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
And and he just got this deal about, he was just, to me, and still today, he's just evil. He's just evil. And then he would do stuff. I remember the first time he really was in trouble and brought the attention to the police is vehicular homicide. You know? But he gets rewarded. He gets rewarded with a damn moped, a mini bike.
Okay.
And then the next day, we together with the credit cards. We both go to jail and stuff. I get the probation and he gets like a slap on the wrist. I don't know what happened there. But she always sided with him. Always.
So, your brother was charged with vehicular homicide.
Yes, at an early age, and I think because we are...
And you know the person.
Well, yeah.
Who passed.
Yeah, who died in the car. So what is... Yes, because he was the guy... Actually, my friend... His sister and me became buddies. She's the first one that gave me my pot of weed, my bag of weed. But yes, they lived around the corner, And I call myself, like young girl, like young love, and I was infatuated by this boy. And then, it was just very short-lived, and him and Andre was friends. They were buddies, and so that's what happened. And then he didn't die, the other guy did. And then I don't know what impact it had on his sister and me, but we were friends. And, around that corner in their house, they was raised weird and strange too. But they wasn't allowed people around them or nothing. So, so she was kind of like they make movies about wayward children that's not wanted. So, yeah, feeling your way and just doing stuff. But she would always have money and could buy pot.
Was your brother ever did time for this vehicular homicide?
No, he did not.
Was he under the influence?
Well, yes, they were drinking. The first time I got drunk with my brother.
Right.
I mean, super duper ridiculously drunk. That's what my grandmother said when she said.
Just zoning in on this, moment of the vehicular homicide. And then you mentioned just after it, so literally the day after was when Andre went and stole the purse?
Oh, no, this was a while after.
Okay.
Because when he did the homicide, I mean, I was younger than 15, He was like 14 when he did that. Okay. And he's older than me. And then the purse didn't come until after my 16th birthday. So, I mean, like he has like this different criminal, stuff going on with him. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, yeah, I was 16 when this happened.